Greetings, Algo artisans and everybody else out there. It's Cowboy. Monday morning, 8:30 AM EST, and exciting Sunday with Bitcoin. We'll start talking about crypto today. We can move on to whatever you want. If you are watching this, if you have any requests, you want to see something in the stock market, something in Forex, excuse me, whatever it is, go ahead and ask, and we will take a look at some charts. But I do want to take a look at some price action in Bitcoin that mostly happened yesterday. There was just a nice pop up, and we'll take a look at some of the kind of the forecasts that I have been doing going back several days. Give me just one moment there. Well, it's so funny, in the world of talking online, things like that. One of the things that I'll forget sometimes is if these are the first words I've spoken in the day, then sometimes I got to make sure I clear out the cobwebs. So interesting world, the world of podcasting. Okay, so let's look at the chart here. Give me a second to present the screen. I wanted to give people a chance to get in before I started doing some charts here. Looks like we got a handful of people watching. Monday morning, everybody else probably has to clear our cobwebs too. And by the way, happy belated Mother's Day to all of the wonderful mothers out there. I know my wife is the best mother that I could ever ask for anyway, besides perhaps my own. We'll see about that. And by the way, probably one of the most important jobs out there, being a mom. Yep, that's I can't think of too many things more important than that. Wonderful job. And I'm saying that as a parent, gets to see the mothering up close. All right, so I had looked at this kind of long consolidation with Bitcoin, and as we have talked about so many times, post-halving there tends to be kind of a sideways and down for a little while. It can be a lot of down or a little down. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big move down, but I do have some limits to how far price might fall, and whether or not it's going to continue down is, of course, the question. And price right now is at a point where that is it's kind of questionable. It has gone down, it's touched some lows, and it might actually have seen its low, which would be the bottom of that yellow line is. We got Gorilla in the house. How are you today, sir?
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, my friend. It
Oh
is
my God.
another Monday morning, and I'm 6 feet above ground.
Oh, good. Very good. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 6 feet above ground is better than 6 feet below, wouldn't you say?
I always say that, man.
Yeah,
Even though the people don't want to agree with me, I always say the 6 feet above is better than 6 feet below.
yeah.
And if you
Looking
don't
down.
know, now you know, and you better ask somebody.
If you don't know, now you know.
Yes.
I'd say looking down at the ground is better than looking up. Yeah, we're just kind of talking about Bitcoin, and I think once we go over to the private chat, you might have some elucidation for us. But what I'm kind of thinking right now
I like
is,
that word.
yeah, that's a good one, right?
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot this last couple of years. You pick up some good words that way.
What have you been reading?
Actually, a lot of different stuff, man. A lot of different stuff. I picked up. What did I pick up? Hold on a second. Let me grab my most recent looks here. Give me a second. I'm usually looking at 2 or 3 books at a time. Just kind of like picking my way through. The Way of the Superior Man, actually recommended by Rich Cooper. Slavery and Freedom by Nikolai Berdyaev, and Mind Wars. That one came up from
Velas. Yeah.
So I got those ones. Those are the.
What was the first book?
The first one is called The Way of the Superior Man.
That sounds like racist to me.
It's totally racist. Yeah, no.
Is it about like Hitler and the Ubermensch?
No. It's about like how do you say this? Well, it's just about being a man. It's just about basically
being a man is sexist.
It is sexist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. So, but I need to crack those ones.
What? You want to do crack?
I want to do crack, man. I want to do some freaking crack.
That's pretty awesome that you want to do crack.
Yeah, I mean, it's don't do crack at home, kids. do it in the street. Just kidding. One that I've been digging through, and I'm a good third of the way through it, is The Creature from Jekyll Island. That's kind of been taking my time. Definitely taking a lot of time. That one's, I mean, I'll tell you, it is, they do the best job they can do. Does the best job he can do, keeping it like not repetitive. But when you're talking about the way that the central banks, the private central banks have just kind of rinsed and rinsed over and over again, it does get a little repetitive. But G. Edward Griffin wrote that, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and I really, really recommend. Like, I even tweeted this, or I don't even call it tweets anymore. Whatever. I posted this on my timeline on X. If you question the way that the financial system works, and you want to know the history of it and who's behind it, I would read that book. And I can tell you right now, what is that?
What is it?
Well, there's the Communist Party, and then there's like the Socialists, but the Socialists are, is it the Fabian School?
The Fabian School of Socialism. That's right.
Yeah, there's no difference between the two. The only difference
there isn't.
Between the two is the methodology.
Right.
Right. So and our entire system was designed by them. Like,
yes, we are, by the Fabian Socialists and Francisco Bacon, who was in charge of the Fabian Socialists.
Yeah. I mean, the Fabian Socialist, I believe their monikers or their like whatever symbols, like a turtle, which represents the slow march, right? So
slow march of progression towards socialism.
Yeah, actually,
slow march. I sound like Russell Crowe,
like some old dusty Australian historian,
something like that.
Yeah. No, it's the totalitarian tiptoe. Like, basically, they just kind of slowly walk you through, and they tell you that they're good, and what they really want to do is control you. And but here's the thing about it: that whole system's falling apart, and I think it's falling apart by design. Bitcoin itself, which, of course, we're talking about the chart here, Bitcoin itself is a bit of a symptom of that. Like, the way that it's actually just gone up shows that people are sort of losing faith in the dollar, hence Bitcoin riding up as much as it is. Some interesting conversations. Actually, Roger Ver just came out with a new book. I'm sure it has a lot to do with why he's in trouble.
Bitcoin. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it talks about how, the original code was written to have bigger blocks, to be able to have, like quicker transaction times and stuff like that. They could easily expand it.
And the reason why they didn't allow that to occur is because of the simple fact that when you slow the blocks down, right, you're creating the attraction for a speculative asset rather than a transactional tool. It's the only reason why you don't want the progression of Bitcoin. The only reason why you don't want to increase the block size. It's the only reason you don't want to speed it up. Is you want to make it the speculative asset that it is, so it becomes a target, so governments can start taking it down.
See, and yet there are like a million other cryptos that have come out that are faster,
way better. Bitcoin is it's 2024, and you're telling me that your Ford Model T is faster and is a better car than a freaking Koenigsegg Jesko. That's what you're telling me. You're telling me that the Model T is better than a Pagani Huayra. It doesn't make any sense, but yet people cling to it. And they'll tell you that this Model T is worth $50 million, and your Pagani Huayra or your Koenigsegg Jesko or your Lamborghini Liberto or your Ferrari Dece Centenario or LaFerrari, right, is shit. It's garbage. My Model T is better. Like, what?
Yeah, well, it's priced better. That's the thing.
That's
and
the
I look, here's the thing about Bitcoin. One of the things that gives it value is the fact that you can cash it out anywhere around the world. The fact that you can turn Bitcoin into another currency, fungibility, right?
Yeah.
So, the thing is, though, through Bitcoin's ability to be cashed out, these other coins are actually going to be just as valuable, because you can merely, let's just say, Caspa is a really good example. We'll take a look at Bitcoin, take a look at Caspa, and then we'll go over to the private, because we're already kind of towards the end of the public, but because we had some fun, we're going to let the private go a little bit longer. Okay, so, Caspa has a similar look to Bitcoin in a way, although what it does is it's a DAG, ghost DAG. And basically what that means, without getting too complex, is it can have multiple transactions per block. So it does have a similar emission to Bitcoin from a structural standpoint. It's deflationary. It is proof of work, and the eggheads so far say that it's secure. It's just a lot faster. And Caspa was released much like Bitcoin as a free release, so there were no what do you call it when you no pre-sales, no allocations. They just had a Genesis block and it was available to everybody. And I think Caspa does have a pretty bright future. The origins are, they're from the Levant, so you have to kind of wonder a little bit. But I mean, hey man, if it's going to make you money, it's going to make you money. So Bitcoin in and of itself, though, the fact that like it's kind of accepted by important people, it's got the network effect, and that's so far kind of like Ethereum is what keeps it going, despite the fact that it does seem to be technologically inferior to so many cryptos. So what I think about Bitcoin right now is that it's at a delicate point on the chart. To get back to probably what people want to hear, it's riding the bottom of this months-long consolidation, going back really, you could say to February, late February, but definitely to sort of early March, right? And price just ranging here. It peaked out around the time of the ETF announcement when BlackRock got approved, and then it's just been rotating between, say, 61,000 and about 72,000, its all-time high. And now you're seeing price kind of sagging down post halving, which is typical. Actually, it's predictable that it would do that. We don't have a lot of halvings. We don't have a ton of data points to say that always happens this way, but that's what the data says, despite the fact this is only the fourth halving. That said, we are seeing lower highs and lower lows. Now the question will be is, will price break down or will it break up? Right? It's at the bottom of a consolidation. There is a lot of support. We've been talking about this for weeks. It shouldn't be anything new to anybody who's been watching, but you see these wicks right here that I just arrowed out right there, those three arrows. And even this move down to 56.5, where it got really pushed up hard back into the consolidation. Could that be a deviation and price continues to rotate inside of this consolidation once more? I'd say a decent bet might be to go long right now. It certainly makes sense from a range trading standpoint. I'm not saying to do this. We don't give investment advice, but that's one way to go. Now the other end of it is the high time frame algos still have a decent amount of bearishness, right? That means that price could either break down if it bounces off the top, or it could even break down before it gets there. So, and now where would it go to? It might go retest this 56,000 low. The last we looked, 53,000. You can just see it on the chart. There's a fair amount of liquidity outside of the liquidations on Kingfisher. So, these are some kind of questions that we have, and I'd be looking at market structure in order to, have a good idea of what's going on there. I'd look for Bitcoin to test this high, maybe even test this high right here. These two kind of 65.6 and 67.2. I can tell you the kind of medium time frame algos, like the daily, it's bullish. I think it has more up to go before it goes down, if it does go down, right? The weekly is still relatively bearish, though. I think there needs to be a little bit more time to pass in order for me to be convinced that the down is done. But for the moment, I would not be going short. I would be going long. And I would look for a pullback to do so. And we'll go ahead and grab Kingfisher. And then we'll actually save Caspa. We'll look at Caspa next in the private group. I can tell you, though, full disclosure, I own some Caspa, and it has held pretty strong throughout this dip, certainly. You do have a fair amount of liquidity sitting at all the way up to 63.6. So from 63.2 to 63.6, that is a decent area for price to go to right now. 63.2 to 63.6. Let's box that up here. 63.2, which is pretty much right above price, all the way up to 63.6. So I know that it, on this chart, doesn't look like that big of a prediction, but if you actually go to a lower time frame, there are trades to be found in that realm. So we'll just kind of take a brief look at that. And we do have a pullback right now. Now, as to whether or not I would buy this pullback to go up to here, that's another question altogether. But if somebody did buy that pullback, one could look at a continuation trade and have price moving up to this area, right up to the top of that. That's a 1.7 to 1 given out to free. I'm not saying that I'm taking this trade. I'm just giving, an idea of what I might do with that. Some higher targets for that trade would be up at 64,000 and 64.8. So again, I would have to study a little bit deeper. In fact, I would not go long just yet. I mean, I could. It's not outside of the algos, but there are a couple of things I'd be looking for before I went long. But it's getting pretty close to where I might look for a long. But I do think it's possible that price might dive a little bit before it heads up. And I mean just a bit. It might come back down possibly to test this high right here at 61.8, but it might not make it that far. It might only even come down to hit the bottom of these most recent wicks, which is down here, or it might not come down at all. But just a couple of ideas of what price might do. Do your own research and make your own choices. And then V, if you could, please get us over to the private. V the gorilla, sir. You are muted if you're talking.
Oh, sorry, my friend.
That's all right.
Thank you guys for joining us. Join us over in the private lab where we make it happen every single day. And we're not in LA, and we're not, that rhymes with hey. But anyway, check us out. AlgoFactory.tech. Learn the code. Learn to build the algorithms that trade on your behalf 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is how we do it. And with that being said, Cowboy, take us to the other side. And folks, less than $1.66 a day. Less than the price of a bottle of water. Join us or die, man. Damn it.
Join us or die.